Assignment education on KET is made possible with generous support from
the Kentucky Community and Technical College System. 16 colleges working together to educate skilled workers and create better lives for a better Kentucky.
The Pritchard Committee for Academic Excellence is committed to engaging Kentuckians on education issues and closing achievement gaps, building a groundswell for better education, early childhood through college. Learn more at pritchardcommittee.org.
I'm Sam Corbett on Assignment Education, the show that shines a spotlight on positive things that are happening in our Kentucky schools. We'll examine important issues related to education while seeking out the good news. This time, the effect of COVID-19 on higher education, those seeking it and those providing it.
They've been talking about in higher ed that we need to plan for disruptions. Well, this was quite the disruption.
Plus, overcoming financial obstacles en route to a college degree. There's a lot of unclaimed scholarship money out there, and we're discovering a good way to find it. And the new tool to keep kids safe.
It's a huge tool.
It's an app that uses smartphones to send out immediate alerts throughout a school. Is it a true statement to say that technology like this will save lives?
We believe it will, yes.
And marching to the beat of their own drums. We'll go behind the scenes of a legendary after-school program where kids are learning with rhythm. And we begin on the campus of UK in Lexington, where COVID-19 has had a big impact on current events at the university and the future. I'm here today with Christine Harper, the Associate Provost for Enrollment Management at UK. So your focus is on recruiting and enrolling students to UK. So talk a little bit about the current situation and how you all have adapted and how you're operating.
Sure. So it has, I think for a couple years, they've been talking about in higher ed that we need to plan for disruptions. Well, this was quite the disruption that I don't know anybody saw coming, but has come to fruition. And I think that it made us really go to pivoting as quickly as possible and being as innovative as possible and trying to serve the needs of the students that were in the middle of trying to decide. When you think about our seniors that are getting ready to graduate right now and matriculate to our university, they were in the middle of their process of deciding. And so for us, what was interesting is that we have these large on-campus orientation events that have upwards of 500 or 600 students. We had one of them on campus. Luckily, we videotaped a fair amount of the lectures and presentations for that day. And 2 weeks, that next week, everything went remote. And so within 10 days, we went ahead and planned an online orientation for our students and had over 400 students attend with their families. And for us, it was a quick response, but we felt really, really impassioned that we needed to deliver on the date that we said we would, in whatever way that we could. And so when we were going to go online, we wanted to make sure we could get to those students because everything had been disrupted for our seniors. And we thought we could at least be one piece of stability, that's something that they had planned to do, kind of transitioning to that next stage, that could happen. And so what we've really tried to do is be as communicative as possible, as transparent as possible, and meet students where they are and try to create different ways to speak to our students to get them the information that they need to make the decision. So to your point, yes, virtual tours and different presentations. At this point, we had maybe 1 or 2 virtual experiences for our non-resident students that could see. We have specific college virtual tours where each college is sharing their information. We have videotaped walking tours in smaller segments so that they're a little bit more chunkable and accessible for our students. Presentations, and then a lot more chats and kind of social media outreach to our students to try and keep them engaged and answer any questions that they have.
What kind of feedback are you getting from potential students and their families?
After we launched that first virtual merit weekend and got such great accolades from the parents and families that were really surprised that we were able to pull something off so quickly, but also that it was a great experience. We did also hear from families that it's so important. I mean, this is a beautiful campus, and usually there's a lot more people here. And that is a big part of making a decision to where to go. I think that any advice that I ever give any student is to make sure you see enough places, go to the colleges, and just make sure that it feels right. Does it have the major? Does it feel right? And that was hard to do that. And so when we approached it, we were trying to approach it in a way that was authentic and giving the students real thoughts about what this would be like, and making sure that our current students engaged with our perspective so that they could have that more one-on-one conversation. And so we've been hearing really great feedback. We certainly are also hearing, we want to get on campus, we want to see it, we want to feel it, we want to experience it, and that's understandable. For right now, though, we are getting great feedback that there isn't anything we're really missing outside of they like a decision about what we're going to do in the fall, but that we've put up enough information and different ways that they're feeling really great about that. So the only other thing I would say is that what we know our students are missing and we tried to create is there is this piece when our students come on for these visit days and these orientations where they meet one another and they start to form that community. And so both in the P12 setting as well as in post-secondary, everybody's away and can't really see. And even though there's FaceTime and there's Zoom and there's, different ways that they can engage, it's just a little different. And so one of the things that we did also do was create worked with a colleague who is in our Ed Leadership program who highlighted a platform that he's used, the Mighty, and kind of created this community. So we have about 1,900 of our incoming students that are in there, and they're engaging with one another and finding roommates and doing that in a social environment. Facebook is not so big for our incoming students unless they want their parents or grandparents to see what they're doing. So finding a space that they can connect with is important. TikTok is one we're getting into because we also know that that's where our students are spending a lot of their time.
Lots of things are changing literally every day, but you all anticipate that you'll have students on campus in the fall.
Yeah, absolutely. We know that we are going to get back to the residential experience, and that is what our aim is, and that's what we intend to do, but we want to do it safely. And as our president and a number of other leaders continue to say, our most important asset is our people, and that's not just our faculty and our staff and our administrators, but also the students that are here. They really are the lifeblood of what's going on, and so we want to get back to that space, but also ensure that everybody can be, in a comfortable, safe environment, connected to, this institution and what we stand for.
Christine, what about the high school students who are just beginning the process? They're going to be seniors this year or maybe even juniors, so they're just starting the process with their families to make that college selection. What are you telling those folks?
So I've actually hosted a couple parent programs. We've been on some panels, and I've had a lot of these questions coming, and there are a couple things that I think are important now. Some of the concerns that we hear validly, my son or daughter was a soccer player, my son or daughter was on the debate team, or they're involved in this, and now that hasn't happened. So what should they be doing? And my response, as well as the response on panels of other leaders like myself, is take care of yourself, right? I think that there's this idea in admissions that, it's this resume of everything you have to get done before you apply. And ultimately, what we want to see is not what you've done and how long you've done it, but what we want to see is that you've learned a little bit about yourself, you're doing things that are important to you, and you're having some kind of, impact in some way. And so it's not so much the what have you done in the history, but during this time, what experience has it been for you? And I think that there are, really valid self-exploration that can be done, and also this kind of giving yourself a break to say, this has really shifted, and I just might need some time to recognize some things. And so it's a time to think about what really makes me happy, what do I really want to do, and reflect a little bit. And if you can do anything in that way, that's great. From the perspective of learning about institutions, most students in their searches are going to go to websites first, and that doesn't really change, right? That actually gets a little better for them because so many of us have now added additional things to make up for the fact that we can't be on campus. But as we're opening up, we want you to come on our campus. There are a couple of families that you're seeing walk around now. Now there aren't we're not active, but they want to get a sense of what this feels like. So you can come, we are open, right? Like, we have people working on campus all the time, so we're open now. When colleges and universities start opening up in the fall, I would say don't rush right away to come do a college visit. We have them, we have going on, but as we're trying to figure out a way and bring on the current students, maybe wait for that visit until October, and once we've kind of come back and got things settled, and listen to the communications that are coming out. But I think the other big piece is that students that are rising juniors or rising seniors, if you're interested in a school, reach out, fill out the card, get your information out there. Then you're going to get in our conversation flow, and we'll start sending you some things and connect with you in ways that we can answer questions that you might have at this point. From a logistics standpoint, I always recommend that the student has like an email address that they create just for their college search. And that way, if that's happening, you have one place where all the deadlines, timelines, admissions decisions are coming, and it's not getting mixed up with maybe, other things that are coming from school or family or friends. So that's one of those things I typically will tell families. Makes it a little bit easier to manage the influx of information.
Right. Are there strategies and techniques that you all had to adopt on the fly because of the situation that we're in that you can see you will continue when we go back to something close to the old normal, so to speak?
We had previously on our website had this, hour-long walking tour, but that's a lot. So just even the small thing of taking chunks and making it so it's 3 to 5 minutes makes it much more accessible. So that's there. I think the other piece is that we're all really comfortable with Zoom now. The capacity to have breakout rooms and have other conversations. So we've used that for orientation experiences where we put video libraries where it's like a 3 to 5 minutes from each of the organizations that students might want to hear from, and they can go to that part and look at that. But then we'll have a small room where people can come in and out of to talk to a financial aid counselor, and then have another room where if they have questions about advising. There just are a lot of different things that I think will be really helpful because we have a lot of students who financially may not be able to make 5 different trips to different universities they're looking for. So instead of just having these opportunities here or just going out to the school, we have different ways now in which we can communicate that shares more information at the time that the student and parent might need it. And then, hopefully as they're making their final decision, can get all of that answered. So absolutely.
Christine, thanks again for joining us today. And we wish you really good luck because there's a lot of things changing in your world.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the time.
Now to an issue that's always an emphasis in schools of all kinds, safety, whether it's protecting students from illness, tornadoes, or heaven forbid, a school shooting. Before COVID-19, school safety was less about health and more about other kinds of emergencies. And those concerns are sure to return once fears of the pandemic subside.
If we don't provide a safe environment, then there will not be any learning take place. So
Chris Gaddis is in charge of security for Owensboro Independent Schools, now with a new tool to keep kids safe.
it's a huge tool.
It's an app called Crisis Go that uses smartphones to send out immediate alerts throughout a school.
Everyone is receiving that alert all at the same time. Once that alert is sent out, it immediately opens up a text message group within the group of people that the alert which was sent to, and then we can follow up. We want to get their attention first. Lock down, lights out, doors locked, be safe, hold in place. Once we do that, the next thing we have to do is we have to start that communication because everyone's wanting to know what's happening, what's going on.
Our school district is really trying to do something to make our schools safer. We wanted to talk to our teachers and see what they were kind of hearing, and their number one thing was communication. You know, things happen so quickly, we need to have the quickest way to be able to hear what's going on.
Jared Revlett is the Owensboro Public Schools Public Information Officer.
We are tied in from the second a call comes in. We are able to communicate that with everybody, keep everybody safe.
I think the main reason that schools are coming to Crisis Go is they need a better way to communicate and alert staff within a school district.
Bill Reynolds is a co-founder of the Crisis Go app.
We work with about 15,000 schools across the country. The platform is highly customizable, so depending on alerts, tones, who they want to connect, it's very customizable to the school district.
Evacuate the building.
It's not all active shooter type stuff.
A gas leak, bus accident, the platform can be used in a wide variety of ways.
And it gets the message out to so many people, it's so broad.
And they can two-way communicate. Now, if I'm a manager, I can communicate down to everyone in the group, but if I'm a staff member, I can only communicate to the managers. The managers then can take that information and then communicate either back to the entire group or one-to-one to that one specific staff member. Or they can make everyone managers in that group and you have a full two-way communication path.
The app is already proving to be effective and garnering good reviews from students to teachers and police.
It gets the information out so much quicker.
But being in on the drills and seeing how quickly students and teachers react when they get these alerts, to me, brings a sense of comfort knowing that the district is doing the right thing.
Allowing our students to feel comfortable, allowing our parents to feel comfortable sending their children to our school is a top priority.
I would say Owensboro is probably one of our most proactive customers that we have. They've been doing a very good job with rolling out the platform, not taking it too fast, but making sure that they have the adoption with their staff and to use the platform.
We started out by just saying, this is what we're going to do on opening day. We need everybody to go and download this app. It's not required, it's just suggested, and you'll understand more why. So we just kind of told everybody to go and download this app. And when we showed up on opening day, there were a lot of people that had it, and we set that alert off. And almost right away, everybody's like, that's kind of cool, I need that.
It's such a time saver.
Scott Norris is a 31-year veteran of the Owensboro Police Department.
And the quickness of it is the main thing. I mean, it's if you've got 2 or 3 minutes where this is going on before officers get there and nobody in school knows what's going on, it turns into a chaotic event.
The quicker than they can get school teachers and staff behind a locked classroom door, the better.
It doesn't make any difference how many officers show up in gray, blue, or brown to help us. We don't have them here that first 4 or 5 minutes, and it's important for us to get the word out and do what we're supposed to do right then.
Is it a true statement to say that technology like this will save lives?
We believe it will, yes.
If we have them locked down, locked in their classrooms, all the students accounted for, no one in the hallways, that limits the possible targets for an active shooter and will ultimately save lives.
These types of tragedies can happen anywhere. The students have really learned very quickly what the sounds mean, what they need to do, because they're distinct sounds. The sound's not the same for every different alert. You know, you have one that's specific to a fire drill, one that's specific to an earthquake, one that's specific to an active shooter. So, you know, these kids are learning, you know, these are the things that we need to be listening for, and when they happen, this is what we need to do. And so they've taken to it really well also, and a lot of them kind of like the opportunity to be a leader in the classroom when they hear what's going on, and they say, this is what we need to do.
It's just one of the best tools I've seen.
Now to the subject of higher education and how to afford it. We know that college can be expensive, but there is a lot of money out there to help you get there, and there's a state agency to help you find it. I'm here today with Kim Dolan, who's with the Kentucky Higher Education Assistance Authority. Kim, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Tell us what the Kentucky Higher Education Assistance Authority, I can barely get it out, tell us what you do.
It's a mouthful, I know. We are the state aid agency here in Kentucky, which essentially means that we administer financial aid programs to help students pay for post-secondary education. So anything from short-term credentials all the way up to bachelor's degrees and even beyond. We administer programs that can hopefully help them afford to pursue those goals.
So for instance, the Kentucky Lottery provides funding for education. Does that work through your area?
It does. So those lottery-funded scholarship programs, the KET Scholarship, Kentucky Educational Excellence Scholarship is one of probably the most well-known ones. We have some state grants. We have the Work Ready Kentucky Scholarship and the Dual Credit Scholarship. Those are all funded by lottery proceeds, so we're good friends with the folks at the Kentucky Lottery. We administer all of those programs through our agency, and then a part of that mission is to make sure that families and students know about those programs. So that's where my department comes in outreach, and we work with students and families from middle school all the way up to adults who may want to return to school, and we make sure that they have information they need to understand how to pursue post-secondary education, how to apply for it, and how to find the money to pay for it.
So historically, your outreach team, you all have been very hands-on.
Yes.
You're working with schools and school counselors
Yes.
and students and families. Mm-hmm. So tell us about mid-March comes, the coronavirus impacts literally the entire world.
Yeah.
How has your all's work changed?
It's definitely been an adjustment for us. We still have our 14 outreach counselors who are working full-time and serving families around the state, but they are doing that virtually now. So they do a lot of Zoom meetings, FaceTime to walk families through things that they might have before done in person, more emails, more text messages, things like that, to make sure that we're still providing that same support to help students get to these goals that they have beyond high school. The good thing about the FAFSA, which is the free application for federal student aid, that's always been an online application, or it has been for a good number of years. So the good thing about that is that we've been doing that online for a while now, and it's always been something that students and families can do on their own. But like you said, it can be daunting for some families to navigate that. It asks for tax information, income information, some questions that families may not be comfortable answering on their own because they feel like the stakes are high. This is money that they can get to pay for college. So if they need assistance with that, that's where they can turn to our outreach staff. We put our contact information for all of our outreach staff out on our website, which is KEA.com, KHEAA.com. So they can go out there, they can look up their county, find out who their outreach counselor is, and call them, and they will walk them through that, whether that's on the phone, again, FaceTime, text message, whatever they're comfortable with, we're here to do that.
So if the student is a rising senior, or maybe even a rising junior, and normally this would be college shopping season and you begin this whole process, what recommendations, what suggestions do you have for students and families as they begin this process when they're now doing it online, virtually, and they don't have the opportunity with the one-on-one meeting or the campus visit, those types of things?
Sure. So I would recommend that they stay engaged with their school counselor. The school counselors are fantastic resources for this information, and they can certainly put their students in their schools in touch with these resources. A lot of colleges have virtual tours that they can, students can participate in on the college websites, so they can at least get a feel for campus virtually if they can't visit in person. We certainly are encouraging them, as schools make their plans for the fall, to reach out to those colleges and find out how they're doing visits. Are they allowing prospective students on campus to do those campus tours? And if so, how will that work? Certainly they want to apply for any scholarships through the institutions that they're looking at. They can look at employers, whether it's their own employer. A lot of students work part-time jobs, and so the place that they work may have some scholarship opportunities, as do parent employers. So maybe the place where their parents work may have some opportunities. Clubs and organizations. We have a great resource on our website called Affording Higher Education, and it's full of scholarship resources specific for Kentucky students. They can actually look up their county and find even local scholarships. For instance, a Rotary Club scholarship or something like that would be listed in there, and we try to compile that information every year for students, and they can find that on our website.
Give us that website address again.
Sure, it's KHEAA.com. And when they get out there, they'll see various tabs for audiences. So it starts with the tab for students, and right at the top there's one about paying for college. So if they click on that, it has a link to scholarship search for private scholarships. It'll have that scholarship resource I was talking about for the Kentucky scholarships, and then it'll have details about their KEYS scholarship, which they've already been earning since they were a freshman in high school. And that's one they don't even have to apply for or do anything for. That's something that our high school students here in Kentucky have the benefit of earning. And then other state-based scholarships. We also have a great scholarship program called the Work Ready Kentucky Scholarship. So those students who know they really just want to get some specific training for a job and get right into the workforce. That's specifically for those short-term credentials, certificates, diplomas. That's a great scholarship program where they can get those programs paid for and apply that in the workforce quickly.
So visit your website, contact your team when they have questions, and then finally maintain that conversation with their local high school counselor.
Yes. Yeah, school counselors are a great resource. Also, the Family Resource and Youth Service Center contacts in the schools can be a great resource for information. Some schools may have a college and career coach that varies by district. whoever that go-to person is. We even have Kentucky college coaches in some schools around this state that are there to help students with this process. Find that go-to person in your school, utilize our staff, involve a family member, whether it's a parent or another family member that's supporting you in this process, but don't delay. We really want them to get the message that even though it seems like a lot of things are on hold right now, this is something that's still worthwhile. A college education, post-secondary education is always going to have value, so it's definitely not something that they want to put off.
Great suggestions. Thanks for your time today. Thanks for being with us.
Absolutely.
And we really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
We're planning to close out this edition of Assignment Education with a bang this time, literally, as we visit an after-school program in Louisville that's become legendary. When it comes to extracurricular activities, these kids march to the beat of their own drums.
I love playing the drums.
They're the Louisville Leopard percussionists.
We're not really in it to make the world's greatest musicians. We want to make the world's greatest humans.
Diane Downs started the group in 1993 when she taught at Martin Luther King Elementary.
Played at the mall, and it pretty much exploded from there.
Now, more than 100 elementary and middle school students participate through summer camps, after-school rehearsals, and performances, everywhere from New York to New Orleans.
We've also been on Ozzy and Jack's World Detour, so we played Crazy Train for Ozzy Osbourne.
A lot of cool experiences. When I play music, I'm excited.
The group's biggest show of the year is at Louisville's Brown Theater, which helps raise money to keep the program going.
It's just our big day that we show everybody what we've learned.
It's a cool jam.
What an amazing group of kids, and what a great time I had sitting in. I'm Sam Corbett, and we'll see you again with more good news on Assignment Education. Assignment Education on KET is made possible with generous support from
the Kentucky Community and Technical College System. 16 colleges working together to educate skilled workers and create better lives for a better Kentucky.
The Pritchard Committee for Academic Excellence is committed to engaging Kentuckians on education issues and closing achievement gaps, building a groundswell for better education, early childhood through college. Learn more at pritchardcommittee.org.